All right. Well, one moment while we bring the other platforms on as well. We're going to cross our fingers tonight that everything is well. All right. So, welcome to the SONYA DUNGEE podcast. Great evening, great evening. Tonight is going to be incredible. If I were you, I would get some paper and some pen, and we are going to be doing some writing tonight. So, great evening and welcome to the SONYA DUNGEE podcast, where conversation is always the essence of the soul. I am your host, SONYA DUNGEE, and yes, still bringing the heat to the IG, Facebook, YouTube, and now the TikTok street. This episode number 211, Stuck Ain't Permanent, is being brought to you by Always Destined for Greatness LLC, B Lips LLC, and Drip Signal momentarily. Waiting for it to come back. Cooking. Still looking crazy. All right, we're back again. We're going to get through these technicalities tonight, and if all else fails, we jump to Facebook, and I'll go live from there. So as I was saying, grab some paper and some pens and get ready for tonight's episode number 211. So we're going to start off the night. Tonight, we're going to talk about stuck. Okay. And my question to you is, have you ever felt stuck? Stuck is in not moving. Stuck is in not growing. Stuck is in not leaving, not starting, just plain old stuck. For me, for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is SONYA DUNGEE, and I have a story to tell. My story began back on January 23rd of 2021, just a little over 5 years ago, when I was faced with the unimaginable. You see, 2 days before that, my dad and we were told that he had 6 months to live. Never saw it coming, didn't know where it came from, didn't even know the person who told us that, to be honest. But in my mind, I didn't want to show emotions. I didn't want to get my dad upset. So my mind was racing while I was trying not to be physical, because it was just, there was no bedside manners in that. And so I was just trying to be as ladylike as possible. So in my mind, I'm like, my dad's going to have the best 6 months of his life. I'm going to have him come live with me. I'm going to remove the furniture in my bedroom. I'm going to order his hospital bed, this, that, and the third, and make it work. Not even 48 hours later, Saturday, January 23rd, I found myself at the VA hospital saying goodbye to my dad for the second time, because I was called in the middle of the night, and I thought that I went and I said my goodbyes then. But by the grace of God, I was called back. And by then we were able to make preparations, and my daughter did a Zoom call. And to this day, I'm very grateful for you, Brittany, for that. Thank you so much. Because we had family all over the world. I had siblings in other states, one in another country, and we all wanted to pay our respects and say our goodbyes. And with that being said, I then found myself next to my dad, holding his hand. I didn't want to be in the room. I didn't want to be at the VA hospital. I didn't want to hold my dad's hand. I didn't want to look in his eyes, only because I knew what was about to happen, and I was in denial. So in my mind, I said, well, if I'm not there, if I'm not at the VA, if I'm not in the room, if I'm not holding my dad's hand, if I'm not staring at him, it won't happen. But you see, it did. So as I held my dad's hand at his bedside, I was looking into his face, into his eyes, and I saw this tear come down his cheek. And it was in that moment that he took his last breath on this earth, knowing it was his first breath in heaven. And As a result, my world spiraled out of control. I became isolated. I stayed in the house. I stayed in my bedroom and only came out when I had to walk across the living into the shishi room to do my 7.5, 8 hour work tour, as I say, job tour, shut down everything and go back into the room until the next day. I had lost a tremendous amount of weight and didn't realize that. At the time, I had 3 beautiful grandchildren, and now I'm blessed with 4. I wasn't spending any time with them, nor family, nor friends. Those who called, I would speak briefly on the phone. Thank you for your condolences. I'm okay. Word to the wise. When somebody tells you that they're okay, that means they're not. And in my case, I was not. You see, I didn't want to be selfish. I didn't want to be truthful. I didn't want to tell my family members how I was really feeling because I knew they were grieving too. I knew my son took it hard and my daughters took it hard, and I didn't want to add the burden of the grief. I didn't want them to worry about me. So I hid it. So I thought. And this stayed in place for 342 days. Do the math, there's 365 in a year. I was doing the same thing day after day after day. Showered, threw on whatever, didn't care. Threw up my hair, I didn't care. I didn't go anywhere except when I was running back and forth to the cemetery to feel that sense of closeness with my dad, whose ashes were behind the Calabarium wall at Calverton National Cemetery. I came to find out later that my family did know, but I didn't know they knew. And in this 342 days, the only thing that changed was the seconds, the minutes, the hours, the days, the months. And speaking of change, when my perspective changed and enough became enough, I knew I couldn't continue the way in which I was doing. I knew my dad would have never wanted that for me. He would expect more of me. It was at that point I went and I sought out help. Because, hell, for 342 days, I tried it on my own and I couldn't do it. So that willpower alone was never going to outdo a community. So I invested in myself because you have to invest in yourself. There's no other way to do it. I invested in a mentor coach, which came with a loving community that supported me even when they didn't know it, just to know that they were there. As a result, in the investing in myself, I started taking classes, which I still do 4 years later. And as a result, I am so blessed that I am able to sit in front of you as a transformation coach. And I get to help those that are struggling, just like I did, in silence, with no direction and no end in sight, but are ready to move forward. They just don't know how. I get to help them change their perspective with an attitude of expectation and of excellence, reaching economic independence so that they can too move forward and walk fully in their God-given purpose. So thank you for allowing me to share that with you, but that was my stuck. So with that, just want to make sure, I believe we are, but I just want to double check and make sure that we all are on the same accord. Because there's people that I know that want to hear it, need to hear it, and searching for it, and tonight is an opportunity for them to be able to do so. Just want to make sure we are. Yes, we are. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I know I didn't ask you, but if you will, please let me know the geographic area in which you are tuning in from tonight so I can give you a shout out. It's important to me. I see that we have Miami in the building. We have Harlem in the building also. So we have Jacksonville. We have a new viewer. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And just so that you know, we are here doing this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. So, with that being said, just jump back. Okay. I'm going to read some of the comments. We have Amen. Boy, can I relate. Way to invest in yourself, icon. Absolutely. Amen in Jesus' name. South Carolina has joined us as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all, family. So, moving forward, today we'll be talking about stuck, okay? But we're not going to just talk about it because stuck is not a place. Sometimes it's a mindset. Sometimes it's a fear. Sometimes it's a familiarity and comfortability. Let's get into it, okay? But first, we're going to define it. Stuck means you're unable to move, you're unable to progress forward, unable to change positions. But here's what I need us to understand. Being stuck does not mean you're incapable. It doesn't mean you are unqualified. It doesn't mean you're unworthy. It means something is holding you, something is anchoring you down mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in the same position that you've been in. And sometimes that very thing that's holding us back, it's ourselves. It's us. It's us holding us back. So let's really get into why people get stuck. Okay. The first one is fear of failure. Fear of failure. We don't move because we're afraid to fall. Now, I remember as a child learning to ride a bike for the first time. I was not having it unless it came with the promise that my dad was going to be right there to catch me from falling down. So we're not talking about that type of failure, that type of fear, okay? That being afraid to fall. Because honestly, I fell so many times after that once the training wheels came off. You see, we don't apply because we're afraid of rejection. And in that, I think of something such as applying for a job, applying for a specific college, applying for a credit card. We don't want to be told no because we're afraid of rejection. We don't start because we're afraid we won't finish. So instead of risking failure, we choose the familiar, frustration. Number 2, fear of success. You see, some people are stuck because success requires responsibility. Growth requires discipline. Elevation requires separation. Next level requires a next level mindset. And not everybody is ready for what? Ask for. You see, can't ask anything that clean when it becomes overbearing or too much. That's how you equate that. Number 3 is that comfort zone. Comfort will glue you in place better than somebody's Elmer's. See, if you don't like the job, but it pays the bills, well, at least most of them. You don't like the relationship you're in, but it's familiar. It's safe. You don't like the environment, but it's predictable. Comfort can be a cage, if you will, with the soft pads and the soft pillows. And I'm seeing fear of failure. Absolutely. Thank you, Miami, for joining. Thank you, Florida, for joining. Come on in. I appreciate y'all. And then there's number 4. Trauma and past experiences. You see, sometimes stuck is unhealed pain. You tried before and it didn't work. You trusted before and you got hurt. You invested before and lost. So now you freeze. And freezing feels safer than failing again. So now let's talk about the 5 types of stuck. The first is the emotional stuck. You can't let go. You replay the same situation over and over again. You're living yesterday while today is knocking on your door. And then there's the mental stuck. Your thinking hasn't shifted. Your vocabulary is still defeat. Your belief system hasn't expanded. You see, you can't have new results with old stinking thinking. And then there's the financial stuck. You're surviving, but not thriving, not progressing forward. You're earning, but not building. There's more bills at the end of the month than paycheck. You're jobbing, I said jobbing. You're jobbing, but not growing. And then there's the spiritual stuck. You see, with the spiritual stuck, you feel disconnected, uninspired, unmotivated, just empty. And if anybody can relate to any of these, Please put relate in the comments. If you're having a breakthrough moment or an aha, I'd appreciate that as well. I'm reading Been There and Did That. You can definitely get stuck in trauma and past experience. Agreed. Absolutely. The relational stuck. You keep attracting the same old people. They just look different. They got different bodies, but they're the same old people. That one right there, that's a pattern. That's not coincidental. So here's the truth. Being stuck is not permanent, but staying stuck, that's a decision. At some point, you have to ask yourself, what am I tolerating that is costing me growth? What am I afraid to release? What version of me am I protecting that I've already outgrown? You see, you can't color your world if you refuse to pick your color. Growth requires movement. Movement, that requires courage. And courage does not mean you're not scared. It means that you are going to move anyway. Move scared, but move. So I want to leave you with this tonight. You're not stuck. You're just paused. But you see, pauses lead to preparation. But preparation, that has an expiration date. Can't pause forever. The moral of the story for tonight is it's time to move. We've all felt stuck. I shared my story with you. I was stuck for 342 days. But you see, when my perspective changed and enough became enough, and I knew that God had a lot more for me. I was put on this earth for a purpose. That. You see, my dad is always going to be in my heart, in my mind, in my soul. That'll never change. And I think about my dad all the time. He's right behind me. There's more pictures of him in the studio, but I couldn't get there today fast enough. So it's never to say to forget if the grief is what you're stuck in. And if it's a dead-end job, if you're stuck because you went through a really bad divorce, or you're stuck because you were the outsider looking in from two people that you love the most get divorced. Those were your friends, those were your loved ones, and now you're stuck because things aren't the same anymore. You don't know where you're going on the holidays, which house. You don't know where your loyalty is. You're stuck. You see, you planned on your children moving, and when that time came, you got stuck as an empty nester. And that commercial that we would see on TV where the parents couldn't wait to get the kid out the house and They were going to have a man cave, or she was going to do a shishi room, or they were going to make all these plans. But at the end of the day, it sounds all good. But then you're stuck because you're missing your child. I know for me, when my children moved out, when the last went and they took the grandchildren and they moved away, I before they made it down the stairs, I was crying. And I know they had to have heard me, because now in my mind, it's like, what am I going to do now? My life just went out the door. I was stuck. You see, stuck comes in so many ways. But if you are truly ready to move forward, you will. So if this episode has spoke to you, I need you to do 3 things. The first is to reflect. The second then is to release by nixing. Remember, in 2026, we're doing nixing, we're doing some fixing, and we're going to do mixing in our 2026. And then reposition. That's when you're fixing, you're doing that repositioning. Just move and be always destined for greatness, your very best. And before we conclude, we have a Boss Masterclass next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. We're going to go a little bit earlier, so I'm not running into the studio out of breath or late. So we're going to go at 6:30. Okay. So I will drop that information tomorrow. Please make sure to register. DM me. I'll send you the link. I'll also have it in my bio as well. This is the time. It's 2026, y'all. It's time for us to move. If you're not ready, you're not ready, because it took me some time. And if it's grief, there is no time frame. So I'm not trying to push you along. But what I'm saying is, if you are ready, if you're at that point, that crossroad, when you're ready, you just need help, I will help you. This is what we will be focusing on in 2026. Also, this is Black History Month. We are celebrating 100 years. So I will be doing a pop-up every single day in this month. Hints, over the weekend, there'll be 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Hint, hint, I will be doing a pop-up within the next 30 minutes. Because Black history is important. It's what shaped America. We need to celebrate together. There's too much going on in this world. Let's pull together and let's celebrate. Let's know our history and let's stand strong in it. Until next time, stay safe, stay well. God bless you all. And before I say bye for now, I'm going to read the comments. So I'm definitely grateful that you've received value. Pick your color, absolutely. You can't pause forever. Absolutely. We cannot pause forever. We'll hide behind the pause, but we cannot pause forever. Thank you for joining tonight. Thank you for your comments. Until next time, bye for now.